Hello, 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 and welcome back to another edition of the NCCR podcast. I'm the man behind the scene, the maestro, the magnificent one. But it's not about me. It's about these two. One hails from Tacoma. One hails from the great province of unknown, Washington. I present to you none other than Kimmy Kim Matson and my main girl, Amanda. Psych 6.
Wow. It gets better every time. And there's more A's added to my name every time.
Agreed.
But I like it. I like it.
I don't dislike it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot.
And I kind of feel like we're letting him down a little bit.
I know, because we just sit here like, wow, impressive.
Yeah.
That was you must have taken in a really deep breath before you started on that one.
Well, introducing you two ladies, man, it is a pleasure. It really is. All joking aside, I love the energy that you two have. Back in, I forgot when you had went on vacay, Kim, but when Amanda came in and filled in, I was like, that's a wrap. Got to get her in. Hopefully her schedule will allow it.
Agreed.
And you two, your energy is great, positive, bubbly, and I know you got your I don't care face, so I got it too.
I hear what you're saying, and I want to say what you're saying is girl power.
I'm not afraid of girl power, Sometimes girl power will make the world go round, so I'm here for it.
I mean, come on now. Like,
wow.
More than sometimes.
More than sometimes. High five.
Yeah. Girl power.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the show today, ladies and gentlemen.
Mic drop.
We're out. That's a wrap.
How you ladies doing?
Good.
Good.
Oh,
Good.
man. Pastor Steve, once again,
So
he did his
good.
thing, right?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. I know we're going to get into it, so I'm going to turn the cameras on to you two. So let's go, ladies.
Yeah. Again, I feel like 2 Peter 3 is like, he's calling us to challenge like our everyday lives.
Yes.
Right?
Every second of every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to read?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we went through 2 Peter 3, verses 8 through 10. But you must not forget this one thing, dear friends. A day is like 1,000 years to the Lord, and 1,000 years is like a day. The Lord isn't really being slow about his promise, as some people think. No, he is being patient for your sake. He does not want anyone to be destroyed, but wants everyone to repent. But the day of the Lord will come as unexpectedly as a thief. Then the heavens will pass away with a terrible noise, and the very elements themselves will disappear in fire, and the earth and everything on it will be found to deserve judgment.
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of touched on it last week because I did read verse 8 last week about timing, God's timing, and you still have those folks, and it's been going on for over 2,000 years, right? How many times, I mean, who knows, have people said, next Tuesday,
Yeah.
we're out.
Right.
God's coming back. Jesus is going to return. It's all going to be, and then it doesn't happen.
Yeah. I'm always like, where are you seeing that in the Bible? Because,
well,
it's pretty clear that nobody knows.
Right. I think what the hang up is the war, the pestilence, all the things that you can attribute to end times, but they've again been happening forever.
Right.
I mean, there's never not been somebody warring against somebody else, or plague maybe is too strong, but there have been some plagues back in the day. I mean,
nothing new under the sun.
Nothing new under the sun. It might wear a different hat, but it's the same thing.
Right.
And because of that, I think the danger, well, there's a lot of danger, but I think for like young Christians or infant Christians to fall into that doomsday stuff, and for then it not to happen, then they go back to that, what we were talking about last week, how you evaluate your Christianity, and well, somebody lied to me about that, so now I'm going to throw it all out, instead of seeking correct knowledge.
Right.
Just taking somebody else's word for it.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like as Christians, it's really hard for us to trust God, right? We want to trust in solid information. Like, we want to know the exact day and time you're coming back so we can be ready and feel good about that.
Yeah, because that can make us
Right.
that lets us be lazy
Totally.
about our salvation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't know when he's coming, a thief in the night, well, if I'd have known a thief was going to break in, I would have locked my doors.
Right.
I would have done
Gone
this.
all
I
home
would've-
alone on him.
I would, yes, I would have totally gone home alone on those people.
Yeah.
But
You know, ladies, I think you're alluding to that perfectly in the time frame and how Pastor Steve broke it down. It made me think, okay, we're wrapped up in Earth time,
Mhm.
right? What about Jupiter time?
Yeah.
What about the galaxy next to our galaxy? The galaxy beyond that galaxy, and other, and so forth.
Yeah.
God is not on our time. It's plainly you can see that, hey, time is,
Right.
it's immeasurable to him. So yeah, that day or 1,000 years or whatever, we have to get it out of our head. It's happening in our time.
right.
Don't we do that often, though, as humans? We just, like, try to shove God in our
All the time.
Yeah.
the time.
All the
In our
time.
world, in our time. And
Yep. Well, when Steve started talking about all the spacey things, all I could think about was
In a galaxy
Star Wars,
far, far
Yeah.
away.
long ago. In a galaxy far, far away.
Exactly.
And I like Star Wars. Did all that, George Lucas must just be some,
Yeah.
genius, crazy kind of stuff. But I personally don't understand all the light years and galaxies, and I don't want to. I don't need to. It's kind of like math. I know as much as I need to know to get by.
Yeah.
But when Peter's talking about God's patience in that verse, and he's being patient for our sake,
Mm-hmm.
for those folks that keep pushing that Jesus is going to return, and he is going to return. We all believe that. But when Steve quoted that 40% of the global population still hasn't heard the good news,
Yeah.
we should rejoice that God's being patient, because
Right.
that is a huge opportunity for us to do what we're tasked to do.
Yeah.
You know what, Kim? People sometimes like God is not a loving God. If he was a loving God, he wouldn't have let this happen, or
Right.
this wouldn't happen. He is such a loving God that he's delaying his return so that you can get to know him and be saved. That's how much love he has for us and how
Right.
merciful he is.
Isn't this God's grace?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, really, he's like giving every generation a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I mean, when you think about that, when you think about how many people haven't heard the good news,
Yeah.
I mean, how should that make us feel about when Jesus is going to return? I mean, that's another wake up call, right? We've got work to do. We're not being all we can be at this juncture.
Yeah.
And I so appreciate the missionaries that Steve, cited. They're just great people doing great things near and far. But again, the mission field can start in your home,
Yeah.
in your family, with your neighbors. I mean, I think it's fantastic if you're calling us to go abroad or whatever. But that was a pretty big statistic that he quoted on
It's
Sunday.
huge. And I just think back, like, to when I became a Christian, and I'm so grateful that he didn't come before then. And like you said, there are so many people in my life that I want to go to heaven and see them there. And I need time. It's not easy. Ezekiel 33:11 says, "As I live, says the Lord God, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked turn from his way and live." And I feel like Peter's statement reflects God's heart of love for the world.
Yeah.
And we need to have that same heart posture and just jump on our calling. I think sometimes we get so stuck in our comfort zone, in our bubble, we get busy, and it's overwhelming with the amount of people in your life, or you feel like you have to know more or be somebody that you're not. Right. And we're called exactly as we are, where we are in this moment with what we have, with the people that are placed in our life.
Yep. I agree completely. I look back before I was a Christian, and after I became a Christian, I kept thinking, who was praying for me? Who was that? And I had a conversation with my aunt years later, and she said, I used to pray for you every day. I still do. And I thought, well, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. At least, yeah. I mean, I got one answer, but I'm like to think maybe more than one person was doing that. I wanted to go back to that, Steve mentioned too, that we equate something we don't know to something that we do know. So it's so important for us to make something fit.
Right.
That we don't think big enough.
Yeah.
Our thoughts are so tiny and really insignificant on the level of what God's done for us, what he's doing for us, what he's going to do. And I just think if we open our minds up, free your mind.
Free your mind.
And I'll add that to the playlist.
Yes.
Oh boy.
We have a podcast playlist.
Oh boy.
That I think that, we just have to stop making things fit us.
Yeah. Yeah, and really, we just need to trust God.
Yep. It's pretty simple stuff.
Just trust God.
Again, we talk a lot about that, but that is pretty much...
It's pretty...
The first rule of thumb is trust God.
Trust God, and
What's the second rule of thumb?
Trust God.
The third?
Ditto.
I read this commentary the other day, and it said, as the body of Christ, we are his feet to go, his hands to do, and mouth to speak. And the verb go in the Great Commission literally means to pursue the journey on which one has entered, or continue to pursue the journey on which one has entered. And I was like, yes, so good.
That is really good.
Yeah.
We should all play that back and write that down. Get that tattooed on your forearm.
I do think that we need to give I don't know how to word this, but just a call out to our podcast friends and family that we have some praying to do, not only for the missionaries that go out and do these missions and go out to these parts of the world that aren't safe.
Right.
But also to the church leaders. I mean, Steve talked about it yesterday. They have some big decisions coming up, and they're stewarding a lot and leading a lot. And so we have some praying to do as a church family.
Prayer is always in order.
Yeah, it is for all of those things and so much more, and that should be part of our daily routine as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to call it that, just I know my Steve has very specific reminders each day. He's pretty regimented, but the reminders are how he does that. But quiet time, prayer time, all the things that he builds into his day, which I think is really aspirational, because I don't do that in the same way.
Yeah.
It gets done, but it's I should be more.
I feel like you
specific.
just gotta do what works for you. If I'm honest, I've been struggling with prayer a little bit, actually a lot of it. And something I started doing is every time I get in my car, I pray. And so it helps me to not feel so overwhelmed for the amount of people and things that I'm praying for. Yeah. Because I drive a lot in a day. Yeah. And so
that's good.
I don't know.
That's a great way to do it too. Yeah. I don't think there's a wrong way, as long as you're in prayer.
As long as you're doing it.
You're calling on God.
Yeah.
For sure. You have anything else you guys, either one of you?
Well, I just, I had a thought yesterday, and again, it kind of goes back to, like, people feeling like they're not equipped or not good enough, and I was just thinking of the disciples and how that they were not people that you would have assumed would be the students of Jesus. And they were fishermen and a tax man and I don't know.
Just regular
a
guys.
motley crew,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
And so he spent time with them, and the way he lived his life and what he spoke of is what rubbed off on them.
Right.
And we're called to do the same. Go and make disciples and share your life with people. But also know that the brunt of that responsibility is not on us. We have to trust in God and that he's going to do his part. And go ahead. Go.
You know, and trusting in God that he's going to do his part, right? Yesterday, Sunday, I was out greeting folks, and
P.S. I love it when you do that.
Oh, well, thank you very much. But a gentleman, we was talking, and he said, "Hey, you remember when I was talking about my job and how I was was asked to pray for someone, and they wasn't a believer." He came back with another one to that. He like, guess what? The atheist brought another person who is a believer and like, hey, do that thing for her because she's going through a situation. Like, do that thing for her, and that is the power of God, right? Even though that person didn't believe, but he remained faithful to God, and God used him for the atheist to be a witness.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
For the atheist to be a witness. And it goes back to that going, and how Pastor Steve was talking about he went out and God called him back to do what he's doing now. But Becca, she went out and she stayed out. She stayed out. And we have to ask God, what is it that you have for me? Is it for me to go out? Internationally, locally, whatever it is. And like you said, your first mission field is at home. But how can I impact the world?
Yeah.
One person at a time. Kim, you always say how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, right?
Yeah.
So how do we get that 40% that don't know Christ or have never heard of Christ? One person at a time. And I got permission. I say, hey, man, can I just, abstractly use that testimony that you just told me? And he like, sure, man, go ahead. So, hey, big fella, thank you for sharing.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, you do wonder if just folks in general think, I've got this great commission I'm participating in, I'm expected to participate in, I want to participate in, and I think maybe we get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
I've got to go find 6 people this week.
Right.
Or, no, you don't. You just need to find a person and start. It doesn't have to be a room full of people. It doesn't have to be your entire family. It doesn't have to be a block party with all your neighbors.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to feed you
I
hamburgers.
mean, that would be really
and preach to
efficient,
you.
right?
It would be.
And I'm all about
You're
efficiency.
probably going to lose a few if you do that. But I think we shouldn't stumble on a number, a head count, right? We just need to start the process, just start and see what happens, because you could really be surprised by
I think
the
too,
outcome
like
of that.
it just being honest about how you live your life or being honest about your faith is a place to start, right? And I think DeVandis, you said this last week, right? It's about how you live your life.
Yeah. We have to keep this in mind also when we do share the gospel with whoever, and they're not receptive. It's not a mark against you. It's a mark that they don't want him.
Yeah. Dust your shoes off and move on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, question Steve poses: what is God's purpose? And then I kind of, why does this matter when we talk about Jesus's return? And then secondly, how do you define your purpose? So maybe just kind of do a little research on both of those things this week. And I mean, I think we all kind of know the answer to both of those questions, but I think if we it all matters when we think about how simple it is and how easy it could be.
Yeah.
But nothing's going to happen if we don't engage. So,
right. I thought of one more prayer request.
yeah.
I think we should be praying for Northlake to be bold laborers to go out into the harvest. Right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. Do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Text us. Let us know what are your thoughts of the podcast and how we're doing as a whole. But in the meantime, and in between time, you know how we do. We are